this gentleman came and he had been shot, and we tried to save his life. And as he was talking to us, he said, "This is what I've been doing. If you save my life, we'd actually plan to kill somebody today. We are not going to do it." And I asked him, "So what's your age?" And that young man was 20. He was just beginning uni. And I asked him, "Do you know what's the life expectancy of a Kenyan male?" And he was not sure. And I told him, "Let me give you a good average. It's 59. Let's say 60. So if the average Kenyan male is living to be 60 and you've done 20, it means a third of your life is gone." And so for dramatic effect, what I usually do, I mark a third, we mark it together, and then I cut that third. And I told him, "Look, man, this is what you have left." About 6 years ago, I was in my clinic and a gentleman is wheeled in. And I look at his face, he looks a little familiar. And when I look closely, I'm like, this is Prof. So-and-so. He was my teacher. And so I say, "Hey, Prof, I didn't know you are unwell." And he tells me, "I have stage 4 disease. It's terminal. I know I'm dying."
He told you that?
Yeah, and he knew. And we all know when you're in advanced stage 4 disease, you know the end is coming. And so we admit him in ICU for a few days. There are a few things we're doing just to make him comfortable. For 7 days, none of his children come to see him. The guy has 6 kids. None of his kids come, not one. And I get so disturbed. And so about day 5, I go and talk to him and tell him, "Prof, is there, can I call, can I talk to?" And he tells me they will not come. I say, "Prof, what do you mean they will not come?" And he was so open. He says,
Conversation moto sana wadau, kama kawaida, lakini kabla tuzame ndani. The history of money is very interesting. The evolution of what value meant. From a time when you had to figure out how many bags of maize you had to offer in exchange for 1 cow. Technology imetusave a great deal ba. Buda hiyo phone yako, umepeana mbuzi ngapi? We don't do that now. From physical barter, we move to hard cash, na sasa tuko kwa the digital era, and that's where the SendWave wallet comes in. Looking at money as a store of value, you need to look no further than the SendWave wallet. The SendWave wallet is designed to hold money in USDC. USDC is digital dollars pegged on the US dollar, meaning 1 USDC is equal to 1 US dollar. With a SendWave wallet, you can hold, send, and receive money in USDC, digital dollars, and withdraw it in your local currency fast and at any time. And that's not all. With a SendWave wallet, you can also send money to Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Nigeria, and over 111 countries fee-free. Getting yourself a SendWave wallet bado pia ni free and easy. Verification process ni kidogo tu. Biometrics hapa na pale and your documents verification kama ID ama passport, and just like that unakuwa promoted to the world of digital money. Unaweza download your SendWave wallet using the link tumekuwekea kwa description ya hii video, and there's more good vibes. Ukitumia promo code yetu wadau when signing up, you get a $3 cash reward on your first $10 deposit. Habari ndio hiyo wadau, tuzame kwa conversation. Wadau, good vibes lazima zifike kwa meza once we stumble on them. Our guest for this episode, I know professionally I'm not allowed to say this, kati ya one of the top cardiothoracic surgeons in Kenya. Professionally, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that, but he's a seasoned cardiothoracic surgeon in Kenya and a legit storyteller. Dr. Keith Dindi is our guest for this episode. Karibu Doc.
Asante sana. Looking forward.
Karibu yeah. Sana. Unajua, when I asked, going through your book, Bullet, Knife, and
the Kiss.
And the Kiss. Okay, an interesting title. There's some uliandika, you did a postmortem on someone, and mi najua you're a cardiothoracic surgeon, and when I brought that up, ukasema, ati, it's a journey. Becoming you is a journey. Na hiyo journey inaanzia endebase.
and see ulisoma kitabu for sure.
And I would encourage people to actually grab the book, because in my terms I can describe it as entertainment. Beyond the lessons, it is fully entertainment. The story starts in Endebess. What did you mean when you say being you today is a journey?
That's a mouthful. So I started in Endebess as a very naughty kid. But most people would not know of a place called Endebess. In fact, the closest people know is Entebbe in Uganda.
Yes.
Yeah, so Endebess was just a very nondescript village. We like to say that nothing extraordinary ever happens over there. Everything is just up or to average.
Yes.
Yeah, so goals are life. There is a ceiling on them.
Yes.
And so growing up in that small place, I didn't have like these esoteric ideas of what I could be. Even this cardiac thing, it was nowhere close to my mind. But through a series of events, getting sick and then getting an understanding of what I considered my calling should be, and then going to school, extending that into a whole journey of medical training to where I am today. It's truly a journey. And our journey is not a short one. Just today, I was seated with a young lady. She's 30 years old. She's a doctor. She wants to do surgery. So I asked her, hey, why haven't you started? And this young lady said to me, I'm too old. And I said, what? You're 30. Surgical training will take 5 years and you don't want to do it because you feel like you're too old. During our times, it took much longer. So I did training for 20 years before I became a heart surgeon. 20 years from the day I walked into the university to the time I did my first case as an independent cardiothoracic surgeon was 20 years.
Independent cardiothoracic surgeon.
Yes.
What's the relevance of the word independent? It's giving IBC vibes. But in this case, why the need?
So the name independent, just to say you can be able to do a case as the chief surgeon on table. So the patient's outcome depends on you, and you're the one will talk to the relatives, you're the ones who will manage the patient intra-op and after surgery. And so really it's your responsibility as a surgeon. So that's what it means to be an independent cardiothoracic surgeon.
Yes.
After training, usually you'd be tagged with some other senior surgeons that kind of walk you through. So for a period of 2 years after your training, other senior surgeons must see what you're doing and look at it and say, yes, I will do the same thing, or yes, this makes sense. The outcomes are great. Yes, this can now be one of us. It's almost like a members club. Yes.
Okay. So we meet at Dr. Stanley Aruyaru's book launch, and I stole your idea. Let me use stole, but I borrowed it and I've shared it in school meetings.
Yes.
You shared an idea on reading, on a culture. I actually do it with my kids. How to instill a reading culture in children and how it helps them become who they would want to be, right? And you also have, I'm tying this to the interesting story of how you become a doctor, right? Because from that sickness that you mentioned, you get a turning point in your relationship with the doctor, because you dreaded the dispensary, Mount Elgon.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So, and you say you left the hospital a changed kid.
Yes.
And also in terms of academics, right?
Yes.
Ebu speak to ule mtu mwenye, the person who wishes they can become a doctor, but their grades don't show. Because in my head, when you say you left the hospital a changed kid, I'm assuming you didn't even take education that seriously.
No. So, rewind selector. Let's take it back to the beginning.
Yes.
So as growing up in this village, I didn't have role models, like really good professionals I could be looking up to in the medical space.
Yes.
So the only person I knew in that space was our village dispensary nurse, because at that time, the dispensary covered a very wide field. And so many of us, if you got sick, that was the first place that you went to. Many times the last place you really went to. And in that dispensary, those days, everything was malaria. If you had diarrhea, it was malaria. If you had bahati malaria is
bad
the
luck.
cause. Yes. Everything was about malaria. And so the treatment for malaria was some injections. The younglings would not know, but there was something called chloroquine.
Yes.
Now that chloroquine was a nasty injection, man. Those days, they reused needles. And so I remember I would walk into this dispensary and would sit like inmates on death row, waiting for your moment.
Yes.
And in that dispensary, as you sat on that bench, you could hear a big sufuria with the needles being boiled. So, the needles are knocking against each other and there's that boiling sound and you knew your turn was coming. And as that was going on, there was something called GV. It had the blue, yes. And it had a certain smell.
Yes.
So that combined with that needle, you just knew this was it. Yeah. And so I would go behind the green curtains, and that lady, she would take that needle that has been reused on like 1,000 humans, and it would be pushed through your bottoms. And when the chloroquine hit you, you would feel that thing for weeks. So that was the medicine that I had in mind.
Yes.
And so I did not like medicine at all. I hated it. I kept thinking about that lady. She had done this so many times. Her biceps on one side was bigger than the other one. She'd been doing this thing for a while.
Yes.
But when I got age 9 in class 4, there was a swelling on my neck. And never thought it was serious. But then one time when I was playing football, I passed out. Because this swelling had grown so big, it was compressing on the blood supply to my brain. Okay. So my parents, what do? They rush me to that dispensary. And I was given injections for a number of days. The swelling was not going away. So finally I was taken to our district hospital. And in our district hospital, we only had one surgeon covering the whole district. These are hundreds of thousands of people. We only had one surgeon. And so I needed surgery. I remember being kept waiting because the surgeon was so busy. Now, before surgery, usually you are starved. Naambiwa usikule kitu, unaenda theater. So I was starved day 1. The surgeon got too busy with more emergent cases. And so I did not eat anything. Day 2, the same. Day 3, the same. In the evenings, the surgeon would come and tell me, I'm very sorry. There are more urgent cases than yours. Please wait for tomorrow. Now, you need to understand. I was 9 years fasting. Old. Fasting. A lawyer boy, missing food for a week.
Yes.
That was crazy, man.
You can't eat just in case.
Yes. So, it was terrible. But at the end of that week, I finally got the surgery done. And he removed the tumor on my neck. And as I recovered in the hospital, we developed a very good friendship with this guy. And when I was being discharged, he told me, sorry, we kept you waiting for long, but maybe one day you can become a surgeon and come help us. Like the way you just say something very casually.
Yes.
But when he said that to me, something in me just resonated with that. And I felt, this is what I should do with my life. And so when I came back home, I just had this sense of purpose because I was like, I want to become a surgeon and come help these guys one day. And when I went to school, I had never been first in my class. But never, not even close. But I went back to school. That same term that I had missed almost half of it, I was first in my class. And I was never second again in primary school. When I finished primary school, I was the best student in our whole district.
Yes.
And it just gives you an idea of the power of vision. Because now I knew what I wanted to do with my life. So went to school. I'm one of those went to Alliance characters. But when I was in Bush, one of my very good friends died of a heart disease. And when that happened, it hit me so hard because he was a very good buddy of mine. He died when we were in school. He was called home, got sick, called home. 2 weeks later on the parade ground, we were told, he was called Maseki. Said Maseki passed on. And they said he had a hole in his heart. And unfortunately, the delay in treatment because we did not have many people that could help him. In fact, we only had one surgeon in the whole country who could do this procedure. So Maseki died. And when that happened, I already knew I was meant to be a surgeon, but now I knew I wanted to be a heart surgeon. And so that became my singular vision in life. I want to be a heart surgeon and help our people so that nobody else would need to die like my friend Maseki. So went through now medical school. So after high school, medical school, 6 years. After 6 years, there's a year of internship. And during our days, you had to wait for at least 3 years before you came back to now subspecialize in whichever line you had chosen.
Why was that?
Yeah, so they said you needed to get experience working as a general practitioner. And so you get those 3 years experience. But I think it was just a clever way of getting human resource to work in our hospitals.
Okay, when you go back to Maseki, in your experience, and when you go back in time, he could have been helped.
Absolutely.
He was a victim of...
Absolutely. I'll tell you, and later on in the story, I'll tell you how Maseki, that dream reconnected with me just a few years ago. So let me complete this story and show you how things tie up together. And sometimes when you look back, it makes sense. It's like you're able to draw patterns over the sands of time. I go to medical school, finished, did my year of internship, then did 3 years as a general practitioner, then went to do general surgery, because our time, you could not train in cardiac surgery before doing general surgery. So you can imagine, I did 5 years of general surgery, doing something that I had zero interest in. But I had to do it because it was part of the path to now doing cardiac surgery. So did that for 5 years. After I was done, I started looking for opportunity for training. And the opportunities were not easy to come by. So it took me 3 years to finally get an opportunity to go train as a cardiac surgeon. So went and trained for another 4 years to now become a cardiac surgeon. And where the story goes back to Maseki, part of my training, so I did my training in Kenya and then also went and did some training in Australia. And so when I was in Australia and done with my training, I was given a very good job, offered a fantastic job to remain in Melbourne and work as a heart surgeon there. And I remember one time just thinking through, because as a young Kenyan boy who's grown up in poverty, finding myself in a world-class facility where I would be working with an amazing system and earning very good money. You know, my family's future would be assured in many ways. This would be it. This is a dream for many people. So the decision to come back was fueled by my memory of Maseki. Because I asked myself, why did I get into this thing in the first place? I wanted to help our people so that nobody else would need to die of heart disease the way my friend died. And that is how I made a very tough decision. I know I talked with many of my friends and I would say, oh, I'm going back to Kenya. And they would be like, what do you mean? And I said, I have to. And they would ask me why. I said, I had a friend called Maseki. It's a little emotional for me.
Pole. Pole sana for that.
But that is how I made the decision to come back. And now I've been working in this country as a cardiothoracic surgeon.
So in terms of, thank you for his memory, actually. Just in layman's terms, if you can paint for us a picture, how much of a pay cut you took for Maseki? Comparative remuneration if you had remained in Australia and deciding to settle.
It was a tenth. It was a tenth. 1 over 10.
10%.
Yes. 1 over 10.
You settled for 10%.
Yes. It was 1 over 10. I remember so well because I had to have this conversation with my wife. And so you can imagine going to your partner and saying, you know, we have to go back. We'll be earning much less, but it's because of this thingy I'm feeling in my heart and in my gut.
So this is actually more than a tenth, because your wife is also a surgeon.
No, she's a physician. She's a doctor. She's a physician. She's a doctor as well, and she was working in Aussie. But now we made that decision to come back. And
both of you are taking lesser opportunities for this vision.
Yes, and many people didn't understand it at that time. But over time, as I've interacted with so many people, and this might be heavy for some of the people watching, but I'll just say it as it is. The work that we do, I deal with very many people as they are on their deathbeds. And so I've held the hands of many people as they breathe their last. And I've never had someone regretting about the money they didn't make. Never. But I've had very many people regretting about two main things. Number one is relationships. I should have spent more time with my children. I should have taken my wife seriously. I should have spent some time with my parents. I did not know I had this short to live. So people regret about that. But number two, people regret about significance. They say, there's something I always wanted to do. This thing was always in my heart. It's so sad I don't get to do it. And so maybe for us, it's because of working in a morbid space that just gave us that sense that we don't have forever to live. So if you can do something significant with your life and leave a mark, it's better to do it. In terms of a deep sense of fulfillment, you'll never be as fulfilled as you will be when you're doing something that is coming from here. And that has been our experience. And even the money that you let go, because we let go of a lot of money, but the way the world works, the way God works, somehow there are many other opportunities that have since come, and we've been able to make a lot of money, even much more than we were making in Aussie.
Wow.
And so I think pursuit of purpose really trumps everything else.
Bless up. So now, Yoni, tumeingia deep sana,
Yes.
but please allow me to take you back kidogo
Sure.
to something you've written in the book. In this moment that it hits you, that surgery is what you want to do, you want to become a surgeon, you write that some people don't have a motivation problem. They have a vision problem.
Yes.
Do you know how close it is that you would have been an average student,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
So when you speak to, this makes you view students in a different lens. Sometimes the average kid in class could be the best doctor the country will never have.
Yes.
How do you think someone watching can ignite the potential without necessarily getting sick?
Yeah, there should be less painful ways of doing this. I think I'll go back to what my dad did. Because although I got my vision very clear when I was a class 4 kid, by the time I was in class 6, I was beginning to lose the vision. Just the issues of life.
Motivation was wearing out.
Yeah. And motivation will always wear out. You will never stay that motivated. So there's something my dad did, and I now do it with my children. So he'd always buy books and give them to me. So my dad was a teacher, a primary school teacher. Those Moi days, they never used to earn anything significant. In fact, recently I was looking at one of his pay slips and I was just bamboozled. I said, my God, how did this guy manage to get things done? Anyhow, so he used to buy books. I remember one time he went to our little town. The town nearest to us was called Skitale. And so he went there because every end month they would be going to earn their money. So they would go and get their resources. But sometimes they would go and the government has delayed the salary. So they would be carrying a jerrycan. It was a jerrycan for kerosene, because them days, the little lantern lamp. So he'd be carrying that. And if he came back and the jerrycan was swinging empty, you just knew mzee hakupata chapa. He did not get his salary. And so there's one time he went and he came back with a swinging jerrycan. So we knew he had not got any salary. But he had a book in his hands. And so my mom was so frustrated. She said, you could have at least bought some meat or something for the family. You've come with a book. And he gave me that book because I had been losing direction. And that book was called The Enemy Called Average. And that book, up to now, like I recommend it to my children, I recommend it to any high school kid. The Enemy Called Average. And the whole premise of that book is very many people are settling for average when they have been called for something so much more. So I think one of the ways to ignite the passion in our young people is to instill a reading culture in them. My children read a book a week without fail, because that's what I did. Even the guy who's 12, he reads with us. So when you read books, they expose you in a way. Instead of going to the hospital, you can just read a book and it speaks to your heart, the heart of hearts. And so that is one way that I think I would really encourage reading culture. Not on the phone, because on the phone you get distracted. Just keep reading as much as you can. For the guys who are working with children do not think in an abstract sense. Children want to see and feel things. We usually say children don't hear with their ears. Children hear with their eyes. So they need to see something. And so if we expose these children to mentors they can see and touch. For example, what us guys did, the primary school that I came from, we developed a project we call Dare to Dream. So I would take my friends who are, lawyers, pilots, nurses, whatever, and we would go back to that school and we'd talk with these kids and say, look, that was my desk. Now, a child can feel that because it's not an abstract thing. It's not work hard, you will get a job. They can feel that. So imagine if each of us decided, and it's not rocket science, each of us can just say, our schools that we came from, our primary schools, can we go there once a term, even if it's once a year, as alumni, and say, we sat there, this is where you are, you can make it. Because that is all a child needs so that their minds start to see possibilities. And when possibilities become tangible in the minds of someone, and I feel that's what my dad did for me. It's like he took my future and he pulled it with his wisdom and showed it to me in a way that was in black and white. And so I held on to that, and it has really helped me in my journey.
Okay. I hope that goes a long way in helping someone who nje. So now, your journey, I love stories like yours because it rubber stamps the idea that education presents an equal opportunity. And to the best of my knowledge, when you say you come from poverty, to get to where you are today, the equalizer is education.
Yes.
Right? Absolutely. How equal is it? Like, where do you put yourself in terms of sisi tulipenya na hii? When you look back and look at our country sahi, would you still look at a student na umwambie education is the key? I know that is complementary to what you've just explained in terms of what should be done, but the system has its own failures that do not make this possible. How do you think we can make that possible? And can you look at a child now and umwambie education is an equalizer to you as it was to me?
Absolutely. So I still think education in big ways is the key. It's just that I define education a little differently maybe than how our government sees it or many parents see it. But truly, education is the key from two perspectives. I look at education as an opportunity to expand the mind. And maybe one of the failures of our systems has been the way the education system has actually succeeded in closing down the minds of many. So you're told this math question, you do it this way. Add this, you get this. There's even a mark for methodology. And if you're not doing it with that methodology, but you arrive on the answer, you will miss marks. And so I feel it's really stifling the creativity of many of our kids when we define things that way. I feel education should be just an opportunity to really open up the mind. And that's why I encourage wide reading. I'm a doctor, but I'll tell you, the last 10 books I have read have got nothing to do with medicine. So I read extremely widely, and that helps. So I would say real true education expands the minds and opens you to possibilities. My dad used to tell me, I don't have money to take you to Europe, to the US, to South Africa, to expose you to the world. But if you read this book, you'd still get the exposure to that world. And one day you will physically walk in those spaces. And I've seen that happening. And so from that perspective, I think education truly is key. But there's another aspect to education that I think is even more important than what we consider formal education. And this is education that used to happen in our traditional setups. So as guys, for example, the tribe that I come from, they used to have these things that they would call age sets. And when you guys were initiated together, there was an education that you received from those who were ahead of you. You'd literally be sat down by somebody ahead of you and they would talk to you live. And some of the education was difficult because they would take you through experiences so that you learned through that experience. They're not just telling you things. So it was very experiential. And so I feel that aspect of education has disappeared from our setup, where you find people who've gone ahead of you stretching out their hands and holding the hands of those who are below and saying, this is the way. And being wise enough to even allow these guys to make some mistakes. Because there's some things you can only learn through the gravel or crucible of experience. That's the only way you learn some things. So for very many of our kids, we are sheltering them so much that they're not learning through that. Recently, I asked someone, the things you're doing now, suffering helped you achieve what you have achieved. You did this running away from poverty. Your kids that have grown in plenty, what will be the surrogate of suffering for them? Because suffering teaches you lessons that nothing else can. So what is that surrogate that will then enable our children to learn key life lessons? So it's not maths, it is lessons of life. And it's a lesson of life that will help you know, I need to accept process. I will not get there tomorrow. That I can do 20 years of training to get to this thing. Process. Our young guys don't believe in process because everything to them has been expressed. And we've not provided surrogates that would allow them to walk that journey. So for me, those two aspects of education need to walk hand in hand. If you get brain knowledge, so your gray matter is getting stimulated, that is amazing. But then you need to add heart knowledge, the skills of life. How do you talk to people? How do you talk to those who are below you, those who are above you? How can you learn patience, grit, things that then make your head knowledge of great value in the world? Because the vehicle through which you express your head knowledge is always through these circumstances. And if you cannot handle things because you don't have heart knowledge, your head knowledge will not matter. So I feel like those two things need to come together to create the right mix or culture medium for greatness.
Thank you. That's a wonderful place to go, because just today I was having a conversation with someone who explained to me what she has gone through to be where she is as a marketer. And her story, she's a friend from Mombasa, anaitwa Shiko. She's a film producer now. So she takes me through a story of how she traces her marketing skills and sales to when even neighbors would come borrow her to go sell things for them to the market. I was wondering if I could borrow Shiko today. I have some potatoes to be sold.
Yes.
And the kind of suffering she has gone through to be who she is. And when you read into the stories and autobiographies that I've managed to read, there is a particular style of suffering that pioneers have gone through, people who have broken through certain industries have gone through to be where they are. And I told Shiko, you do realize that your kid cannot be made of the same software you are made of, because that is the process that made you. And she agreed. So when you say that Basi, there has to be a surrogate, that's you saying there's an alternative to the suffering. Someone can still make the levels of success you made without necessarily going through the suffering you did.
Yes.
What is the alternative to suffering?
Yeah, I wish I had I wish I had gone through less suffering for sure. If I could learn these things another way, I would be very happy. But practically, and this is what I've done with my children, I've allowed them to do some things on their own and hit a few walls. Yeah, so my firstborn son loves film and production. And so he's now been making some money editing online for people. Just last week, he was scammed by some guys, and he lost all the monies he had made over the last 1 month working on editing, and so he suffered through that process and he learned some things. But I think we can create experiences, curated experiences, mentorship experiences that can pass across some lessons to our children without them going through suffering. So this that I run, I call it Anchor Junior. So Anchor Junior is an experience where we get young people, teenagers, to come. We hang out with them over a day, over a weekend. And so we curate some experiences that pass across these lessons, and they're experiential. So there are tasks that we'll ask them to do. And as they do them, there are certain lessons that they're learning. Some of those tasks are very repetitive, then annoying. But it's a surrogate for a real life experience that would be suffering out there. So it is for a moment, but it teaches you a lesson that you would otherwise learn the hard way.
Simulated.
Yes. So it's kind of like simulated learning. And I think if we can be creative, and in my house, I really love doing those. So there's a task I'll give the kids, but there is something I want them to learn through this process. There's something I want them to be able to produce, but there is something I want them to learn. So we can create such. The intentionality to do that, I feel, is what we really lack. So how do I say this kindly? I see parents coming to my clinic. Sometimes parent will come in at night and they'll say, Doc, I really want to stay here. I don't want to get home until I can't stand those kids. Like there are people who even go to hospital. They want to be admitted to run away from the home environment. So you can imagine the typical Nairobi professional, apart from the 8 to 5, they've got an evening class. Yeah. And then there is a weekend chama. And of course, there's going out with the boys. So the kids don't get to really experience them at all. And if that doesn't happen, then it's only a matter of time. I usually say motherhood is instinctive. Fatherhood is intentional. So mothers are you're born, you give birth to this child, you breastfeed this child until maybe 2 years, like the connection is there. But fatherhood has to be intentional. And it is fathers who usually allow suffering to teach kids some things. So the suffering and the surrogates I'm talking about, many mothers would be uncomfortable with it because, by nature, they want a soft upbringing. They want to protect the child. Fathers, on the other hand, they'll allow the child a few falls here and there. I remember one time my son used to love climbing on the table and diving to the floor. Like, what in God's name? And so the mother would be like, hey, get him down. Then I told her, no. Let this guy, Dindi.
Wrestling.
And that was it. He landed once and that was it. One time, he liked pointing his finger to the candle. And so the mom would be very protective. One time I said, let
him find out.
Yeah.
Discovery.
Yeah. Yes. So the kagai, and that was it. And so I think one of the tough issues about our society today, there are very many kids that have lacked that masculine bit, which I think is so important. And it doesn't need to come from a biological father. That's what people misunderstand. It doesn't need to come from a biological father. It just needs to come from a man somewhere. And so there are very many men that need to step up. And when they step up on the plate, those cousins that you have, those nieces, those boys in the neighborhood. Let me tell you one last story. And this gentleman is very inspirational to me. There's a guy I met just 2 weeks ago. We were doing a speaking engagement in South Africa. He's called Cassie Carstens. And he's written a fantastic book. It's called The World Needs a Father. And he starts that book with the story of Congo. He's in Congo and they're doing psychological evaluations and help for people who've gone through the trauma of displacement. And he says he sat one day and people started coming in and sharing with him the experiences they had been through. And one village, one person after the other came and talked to them about how young men came, all of them teenagers, and started cutting off the limbs of the children in that village. And the whole village said the same story. So these guys would cut at the wrist, they watch someone bleed, cut at the elbow, then all the way up. That's how the book starts, gory. And so in the next chapter, he talks about when he finally got an opportunity to talk to some of those young guys and find out, which kind of kid does this? And as he talked with these children, because all of them were kids, just teenagers, and as he talked with all of them, there is one thing that was a common theme. These kids had never had somebody stepping up, a father figure, a real father. Some even had present fathers, but absentee. So you're there, but not really there. That was the common theme. And so he talked about how he started a club. And so he did football clubs for these children. And that's how they changed that society. Because now he became a father through sport to these young people and managed to rehabilitate these kids. And as I listened to him, and we've sat down and talked with him, and as I listened to him, I said, wow, this is the power of a present father.
Okay. Wonderful.
We've gone all over the place.
No, it's fine. I'm actually following my friend. I have a friend who one of my aspirations for fitness is to last 15 minutes in his class. He's like military special forces guy, and he's very one of the, I call him the most polite, dangerous man you'll ever meet. So I once approached him with an idea for a mentorship program like this one. So me, him, and a group of friends of mine, and it was interesting because it would cover that gap. So I shared this story of the idea to start a mentorship program like that, which you have with a friend of mine, Diane Mohando. She has a teenage son, and she recently reached out to ask if we had started that program. And on this show, I'm happy to know that you have a program like that going, and I'm going to refer her to you because I believe this is what she has been looking for. Now that Sisi Tujaanza, you already have it going.
There's a gentleman, Wilson, who is in the US, but I think the way he does it, he calls it Cave of Adullam. I don't know if you've seen that. So he runs something, he calls it the Cave of Adullam, where he brings all the children in the neighborhood. Maybe their fathers died in the military, or they're in jail, whatever. And so he runs, and it's a nationwide movement. And he uses martial arts. So they're learning martial arts, but he trains them on the skills of life. And at the end of every week, he would bring the mothers to come with their sons and engage with him. And he helps the mothers see where the gaps are and how they can fill those gaps. And I've been watching what he does, and I'm like, wow, we need something of this nature on this continent, so that we can engage with our young people better.
I'm happy to introduce you to my friend Pia. He now does like professional martial arts. I think he's the only person to give certification Krav Maga in East Africa.
Awesome.
He should be a great asset to this. And I will I would like to be part of that.
Awesome.
Kama iko na nafasi
kabisa. Iko mingi.
Asante. So now your book reads like a movie kwanza. And I had to ask you, hii ni fiction ama hizi ni stories?
All of them are true stories.
And that scared me even more. So you one of the opening stories is Washiori.
Yes.
And the guy is almost dying, and he tells you that if you save his life, there's someone is planned to kill.
Yes.
He will not kill that person.
Yes.
When he tells you this, what comes to mind?
Yeah, so this was actually from a very terrible time in our country's history.
Yeah.
So it was that period, 2008, just after post-election violence, things are trying to cool a little bit. Yes. So 2008, 2009, and the Mungiki menace was at its highest. So if people would remember how Mungiki were doing things, they would come and literally behead a whole household. And some of the worst postmortems I've ever done. I'll never forget one family where Mungiki came and killed from a 3-month-old baby all the way to a 96-year-old grandpa. Like, they beheaded everyone.
Mungiki?
Yes. They beheaded everyone. And so the postmortem was bodies and heads. You're trying to match, okay, this head, to which body does it belong? It was a nasty time in our history. But the story that I share in that book, this gentleman came and he had been shot, and we tried to save his life. And as he was talking to us, he said, "This is what I've been doing. If you save my life, we'd actually plan to kill somebody today. We are not going to do it." So we take him to theater. He had a number of bullet holes in his small gut. We sew them up. It takes a very long time to do the operation. We are done with the procedure, and we take him to the ICU. This was at Nyeri, the Provincial General Hospital, the place where I was working as a medical officer in surgery at that time. So we sewed him up. He's in the ICU. I get home in the evening, and a short while later, I get a call. The nurses have panicked. This person on the other end, you can just hear the panic in their voice. You need to come. And so we dash back to the hospital, and I get in one of the most gory sights I've ever seen. So I'm used to seeing blood on the floor. Like when you're operating, sometimes a patient comes, maybe they have been bleeding, so the floor can be bloody. But now there was blood on the roof. And I wondered, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I looked at Washuri, and these guys, the rival Mungiki gang, had come in and they hacked him in the ICU. And so he bled, his blood splashed on the roof of the ICU, and they killed this gentleman in the ICU. And it just made me think, oh, where is our country headed? And so for me, for example, when I hear politicians stoking this tribal rhetoric or political violence, it really sends shivers down my spine, because I know where we can get to as a nation. It's not an interesting place to be.
So, as a human being and as a doctor, and it's funny that we've had the founder of Mungiki, and he denied vehemently that they ever killed anyone. He denied. He said they never killed anyone. In fact, he blames the government. He says the police used to kill people in the name of Mungiki. This is a different story.
Yeah.
So now, as a doctor, you write that you actually thought to yourself, how many more people has this person killed?
Yeah.
But you have to save him.
Yes.
What's going on there?
Yeah. Because, for us, whichever kind of person comes our way, we are bound by our oaths. We do our work to save the life. We don't want to know the backstory. If a patient comes to me bleeding or has been shot in whichever state, our work is to save the life. And there have been scenarios, by the way, where I know this is someone who's truly dangerous to society. And we've gone ahead and done our bit. And then you hand them over for the law to take its course. One of the guys that shocked me, there's a guy, he came, he had been shot by the police when he was trying to run away, and we knew him. If I was to mention his name, people know from those days. He was one of Kenya's most wanted, and so he gets healed and he does well. So the case goes to court, and I'm called as a witness, because I did the surgery on him, and so I'm called as a witness, and I go to court, and he's on the other side now. I saved this guy's life. Then the kind of things he starts asking me, basi ungeacha nikufe kama ulifikiri niko na makosa. I'm just
he
listening
asked you that?
Yes. In court, just, and I'm thinking, maybe I should. But I'm tempted to believe he's not alive today. No. When he was freed, I don't want to say the corpse, but when he was freed, because the case collapsed and somehow he got freed, later on he was just found shot. So I think there are some folks that took the law into their hands and did their deed.
And there's a particular concept that runs. Let me, for lack of a better word, let me use concept. You get, this is my read. You get so irritated when you see boda riders without helmets.
Absolutely.
Because one of your patients was a boda rider who had been involved in an accident. You're observing his progress, but his friends come to visit him every day, but they don't wear helmets. Why do you think people never learn?
I think in this continent, everyone wants to learn from their own experience. They don't want to learn from the experience of others. But I see that all the time. It's funny you say that, because just this week I blogged about an experience I had last week. So one of my friends, actually the gentleman who received me in Australia when I went to Australia for training, a senior surgeon, came to visit. So I took him on the scenic routes along the escarpment. So we went through this Mai Mahi route and drove all the way in Narok, went to see the facility at Tenwek. And so as we are driving, I could just see this gentleman was so tense. He's never been to Africa. It's his first time. He's never been here in this country. And so he's seeing how people are darting in and out of traffic. And he's on the escarpment. Clearly it's a blind end. And people are dashing mad across. And he was like, so I could just see. And I thought, oh, wow. Is it that I've become so accustomed, I've normalized this thing? Yes. And of course, we were passing through Narok, and one strange incident, we had a boda guy. He was carrying 3 kids So there's one with him here and there are two behind. No one has a helmet. And he's weaving in and out. And we were like, whoa. So when we were coming back, he just said to me, I'm surprised that we've not seen any accident since we've been on this road. And exactly a minute down the line, we come up and there's an accident on the road. So I just shared it on my blog. I took a picture, so I shared that picture. A car had rolled off and it was a nasty accident. So this gentleman and I, because now we are medics, we stopped on the side. Then we went out to now help the people who had been involved in the accident. And I was just amazed. This is a stranger, but put some gloves on and we went to help these guys. But as I thought about it, I said, why do we treat ourselves this way? For me, this is my theory. I think we don't value life in this country and in this continent, because I've traveled a lot in Africa. And I think we don't value life. I think a bit of it is because of the poverty, because poverty takes some dignity away from you. It reaches a point where you're thinking, what's the use then of this life? Why even live? So the value for life comes all the way down. And so the way I see people handling their lives, I feel like there are a lot of people who just don't value it. The guy that you talk about had an accident. The head was so crushed. When you took him for surgery, it looked like an egg, when you drop an egg on the floor, and you know the way that's how his skull was. And the guys that came to see him, his fellow border riders, looked at him and they would talk. This guy is in coma, and they would go back riding without a helmet. And so I said, it's not information, it's not knowledge. I think it's an attitude, because we don't value life. And I think when you start valuing life from the top, not from the bottom, if from the top leadership starts showing value for life, people start valuing themselves. And probably that would make a difference.
Okay. And speaking of valuing life, you mentioned at some point that you've held some people's hands when they were breathing their last. There's one particular patient that even I was shocked, and I didn't like that. Nikisoma, this is where I started suspecting this is going. John. So John walks in casually. John walks in casually into the hospital, talking about he's having trouble swallowing, right? And you detect what this could be, and you don't imagine someone his age could have that, right? You do a surgery, and then kidogo pale, he's stabilizing, kidogo pale, he's gone the next day. You don't get to learn something from him directly, but you get to learn something from that.
Yes.
What do you pick from that?
I think our mortality, the awareness of our mortality. And for me, the way I initially live my life, because I live my life with a certain sense of urgency that most folks don't, because I know my time here is kidogo like this. So I sat with a young man a few months ago, and he'd come to me for a mentorship conversation. And I always do this with my mentors. So I take a string and I ask him, so what's your age? And that young man was 20. He was just beginning uni. And I asked him, do you know what's the life expectancy of a Kenyan male? And he was not sure. And I told him, let me give you a good average. It's 59. Let's say 60. So if the average Kenyan male is living to be 60 and you've done 20, it means a third of your life is gone. And so for dramatic effect, what I usually do, I mark a third, we mark it together, and then I cut that third. And I told him, look, man, this is what you have left. What are you going to do with this? And that just helps people to start to understand you're not here forever. So for me, dealing with patients on their dying beds gives me that understanding that I've got to make my life count. It needs to be meaningful, not just making money or paying the bills, but it needs to be meaningful. It needs to leave impact, because very soon, then you're out of here. John was 23 when he died. And in the book, I write that story of 23 going 24.
Yes.
Yeah, and he used to sing the lyrics of that song, that 23 going 24.
23, will I make 24? Coolio.
Yes, yes, from Coolio.
Yes.
Will I live to see 24? The way things are going, I don't know. And when the day he died, I was called from the hospital that your patient is not doing well. And I dashed to the ICU and John is gone. And the nurse hands me this note, man. And on it, he had written 23 going to 24. The way things are going.
Oh, he had called for you.
Yes.
But it's like he didn't know you'd make it in time.
Yes.
So he wrote it for you.
Yes. By the time I got into ICU, he had just passed on.
I'll give you 2 scenarios and then you tell me what you deduce from that. The first is my favorite musician of all time, Musa Juma. He's a rumba musician. Died on 15th March 2011, saddest day in Africa, according to me. So I sat with his sister and he breaks down to me the last moments. And the conversation is, there was supposed to be a blood transfusion. Like they needed to, the doctor was like, he needs more blood. But the sister was like, no. And in this conversation, a tear drops from his eye and he was gone. Right? Story number 2. I'm watching former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's bodyguard, Maurice Ogeta, explaining what happened. He says Raila wanted to do 5 rounds around the villa. I'm getting the story correctly. So the villa, he estimates 50 meters. So he does the first round, 50 meters, and he doesn't even go quarter of the second round. And then when he approaches to see if he needs help, try to ask, Raila says, the former Prime Minister says, "I." And that's the last thing he said. And he was gone. That scenario has been ringing in my head kidogo.
Yeah.
I was like, at this moment, did he know it was done? And it is so fast that you can't process. Is this what people say? You see your life flashing before your eyes. What is going on kwa hizi scenario mbili?
Something that I've noticed with many patients, and I actually do this when I'm in an acute emergency scenario. For example, we've had a road accident and people have come, and that you can see that picture in your mind. When I'm handling a patient who's teetering between here and there are words I speak to them, and one of the things I usually say is, hold on, don't let go, because there's that sense of impending doom that patients feel, that sense of like there's doom coming. It's almost like you're feeling like your breath is going. That's why in the good book it says Jesus gave up his ghost. There is a letting go, and that's why those words can be very powerful. Someone can hold on to life, and someone can let go. So the words that we speak, even when people are unconscious, that's speaking of, hey, hold on. That's why we call it fighting for your life. There is a way, there is a letting go, and there is a fighting for life. Of course, it reaches a point now where there is no energy left to fight, and people can pass on. But my experience with patients dying has made me believe that they have a sense. People can sense the moment is coming. It's almost like you've been walking this race and there is no more tarmac at the end of the road. There is a sense they have. Some of the words people have said, like one of the things I find very strange, the patients who seem to improve just before they die, like they seem to be getting better, like everyone is excited, oh, so and so is now well. But there are things they then do, somebody says, oh, ile M-Pesa yangu, hii ndio. You're like, why are they saying that? And the next day when you come back, you are told, oh, so and so is gone. Let me tell you one quick story. This, to me, this is one of the most profound experiences of my medical career. And it's shaped my passion for mentorship, especially for men. So just last weekend, we usually do events. I call them Thriving Men Summit. So I bring just a bunch of guys together and we talk life. And the premise being, ladies have got so many avenues where they can just talk. a lady will just
Without losing your train of thought,
Yes.
how frequently do you have events?
every quarter we have a Thriving Men's Summit.
Where can they find this information?
So when they come to my LinkedIn, and it's just Dr. Dindi Keith, they can find that, or in our Facebook for Thriving Couples by the Dindis, they can find that information.
Okay.
So this happened about 6 years ago. I was in my clinic, and a gentleman is wheeled in, and I look at his face. He looks a little familiar. And when I look closely, I'm like, this is Prof. So-and-so. He was my teacher. And so I say, hey, Prof, I didn't know you are unwell. And he tells me, I have stage 4 disease. It's terminal. I know I'm dying.
He told you that?
Yeah. And he knew. And we all know when you're in advanced stage 4 disease, you know the end is coming. And so we admit him in ICU for a few days. There are a few things we're doing just to make him comfortable. For 7 days, none of his children come to see him. The guy has 6 kids. None of his kids come, not one. And I get so disturbed. And so about day 5, I go and talk to him and tell him, Prof, is there, can I call, can I talk to? And he tells me they will not come. I say, Prof, what do you mean they will not come? And he was so open. He says, I didn't have time for them. Now they don't have time for me. And man,
was it regret, or he had made peace with that?
It looked like he had made peace with it. But you could see the pain in his voice as he said that. And so I went home that evening and I was so disturbed, man. I just couldn't have peace. I went back to the hospital at night. I went to him and I said, would you allow me to talk to one of your sons? And I called his son and I told him, hey, Mzee is dying. Why don't you come see Mzee? And he says, it means nothing to me if he dies. I will not come. Now, for me, because I'm very close with my dad, we are really tight. He's shaped me. Like, when you ask me who's my mentor in life, it is him. I was even with him today. So for me, that was
unimaginable.
Like, this is your father. And he said, I will not come. The next day I went to hospital and I could tell this guy, it's unlikely that he will make it beyond 48 hours. So I just felt this burden. So I called this guy again. I told him, please, Mzee is dying, just come. So you need to understand, this is a very successful man in his life. Like, he has buildings in the city. He's all that. Finally, this young man tells me, I don't even have transport to come. I sent him M-Pesa. I told him, do you need transport? Please come. And he finally came. And I remember when he came to the hospital, the day the Mzee died, he came to hospital and I took him to the father. And I could see the hesitation. He's trying to go. I tell him, this is your own dad. And so finally, he walks in. And there's so much. So the Prof that time is weak. He's just like, you can see he's hanging by a thread. So he turns his head to look at the son, and the son is struggling. Finally, something breaks in the son, and he reaches out to hold his dad's hands. And so he holds the father's hand. And I can see Prof squeezing the son's hand as well. And then he just struggled to say, I'm sorry. And when he said that, the son started crying. And then on the old man, I could see a tear just flowing down. And myself, as I'm embarrassed to say, even me, I the Luya elders will not be pleased, but I was also crying, and he breathed his last and died right there with the son holding his hand. A few days later, during the funeral of that Prof, this young man called me and he was crying and he said, thank you so much. Because in the whole family, nobody else has closure but me. That moment has changed the direction of my life. And so as I thought about it, and I've really thought about it a lot over the years, and I said, what is important in life? What really matters in life? Because, and I'm talking to men, it's easier to build a business than to build relationships. And many times it's more comfortable to hide in business than to face the people that are closest to you. And you hear the joke of people sitting on their cars in the evening, wamefika nyumbani, but they can't go up until the lights go out. It's a reality for many people. Yet, if we put in the effort to work on these relationships, it is worth the while. At the end of the day, the number one thing people regret about when they are dying is relationships, missed opportunities with the people dearest to them. And so the intentionality around that is something I'm very passionate about. And I spend most of my time. So I usually say, I touch the heart in 3 ways. So I touch the heart physically because I operate on people's hearts. But I also restore hearts because we work on people's relationships. My wife and I, we have a movement. It's called Thriving Couples by the Dindis. More than 700,000 people across the world. So we help people to have successful, exciting relationships because we think it's important. But lastly, I connect hearts to purpose because I help people see you're not here just to make some money, pay bills, and die. There must be something you can do in the world that will impact society in the days to come. Each of us carries within us that seed of impact. And so when you connect these 3 things, you have a healthy physical heart, you've got healthy relationships, and you are achieving significant impact in the world, then you're a fulfilled human being. If any of those is not right, then regardless of how successful you are in other spheres, you'll still feel empty. If the price of success is a failed relationship, you're not successful.
If the price of success is a failed relationship, you're not successful.
No.
Wow. You say this when I was checking out something on Mark Zuckerberg and how he allegedly finessed his college mates who went to check with him on an idea. He was a developer and they had this idea. They wanted improved of a social network. Look at him. Philosophically, we will say he's not successful. If it cost him relationships,
yes,
to get where he's gotten to.
Yeah.
And sasa I'm also tempted to look into the idea of Mzee, the prof, whose example you've given, he had investments, he had things going on, but his son did not even have the transport to come see him.
Yes.
That's part of the failure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My dad usually says, there's no success without a successor. And so if your definition of success does not include a successor, your definition is deficient. And so for me, the ability to grow key relationships in your life, so the partner relation, the person you walk life with, then the children that you guys have together, those are key relationships. Partners in business, these are things. So one of the things I've realized, and you mentioned Mark, in people's quiet moments, away from the public, there are demons that people have, skeletons in the closet that don't give them peace. And some of them is that if you go around and scam the people that have worked with you or built something, there is a peace within that you do not have. And for me, one of the things I noticed when I came back to Kenya, there was such peace, man. When you go to sleep, you truly sleep. You feel this is what I was put in the world to do. And so that peace is something you cannot replace with anything else. One of the biggest industries now is in the mental space. Yeah, there are people who are paying so much for some capiz. And some of this is fueled by these things we're talking about. When you do not have great relationships, you will not be at peace and you're so disturbed. So for me, simple living, yes, you can be successful, and I'm successful in many ways. But for me, the thing I'm most proud about is that I have my son here with me. He has chosen, let me escort dad. He's a teenager, but he would rather be with me. That to me is successful. This is our 21st year of marriage with my wife, AC. That to me is success. My daughter on her birthday told me, Dad, I would love to get married to a man like you. Man, that to me is success. Other things are a bonus, but that is really the crux of the matter.
Okay. So in your story, that pivots you to becoming the person you are today, a cardiothoracic surgeon. And this is, I think, rather philosophical. You mentioned that they kept you hungry for days. Day 1, day 2, because the surgeon is overoccupied, is preoccupied. So you are technically, you are a product of a failed system. You are a product of a poor healthcare. So is the healthcare poor so that it can produce more doctors? Because we have people who have died due to bureaucracy and inadequate facilities, inadequate healthcare facilities. One of my favorite people on earth, Dr. Thomas Sowell, was writing about his story when he was running a department for government for a hospital. There's a department he was running in a hospital. And at one point, they saw someone on the street. He passed out. I think he had passed out. And the guy, and this is in the 1950s, 60s, the guy who had passed out had to wait in a hospital because there were certain procedures that had not been undertaken. So he says the doctor in need, the patient in need of medical attention died in a hospital full of doctors. And he follows it up with a very interesting line. He says, and that's why he despises or something, he hates bureaucracy because of the obsession with procedures rather than results.
Absolutely.
In your book at some point, you anaitwa the hiyo jina inanikatazana.
Anesthesiologist.
Yes. So now he stops you from conducting a surgery because of blood pressure. There is need to get a pint the blood, and you couldn't wait. You're not allowed to go get it, but you had to go. Get that. Right. So there are people who have died waiting for procedures. There are people who have died because of equipment that is not adequate. So coming back to the philosophical bit of this, if there were inadequate surgeons and had you been taken to hospital and operated on same day na ukaenda nyumbani, chances are the story twists kidogo.
Absolutely.
So where is the balance? Are we interfering with the process with wishing for a better healthcare system?
Yeah. So you mentioned that, and something came to my mind. System should serve us. We should not become servants to the system. And it's very easy to become servants to the system. So yesterday, for example, I noticed something and I was like, wow, this is a great worker. I was buying something from the supermarket. And this segment I was in, the way the supermarket is arranged, there are people who deal with that segment. So the person who deals with that portion was not around. So this other gentleman looks at me, I need some help, and he tells me, mtu wapo hayuko. Then I told him, okay, na wewe unaweza ukanisaidia? Unajua, he said, yeah, I can help you. I said, but lakini mtu wa hapo hayuko. So I thought, oh wow. And finally, he came and he helped me. And many times you can be stuck in that, generally in life. There are very many systems that have been made to serve people, but we end up becoming servants to those systems. And part of leadership is identifying which are these systems and rules and maybe protocols that need to be reworked so that they serve us. It's not that we serve them. But back to your question, it's true. Sometimes you thank God for some misfortunes and things that kind of shape your life. But in the broader scheme of things, I think this country still badly needs more doctors. We definitely need more surgeons. We need a better commitment from government to help, especially the smaller facilities and rural areas, so that you can have care truly decentralized and democratized to to the wananchi. We, as a heart surgeon, one of the problems we deal with is called rheumatic heart disease. This is a problem that affects the valves of the heart, and it affects mainly young people in this country.
Mainly young people?
Mainly young people. So the average age is like about 12. But these people are in the rural areas. And in many of these rural areas, there's simple diagnostic equipment, so they depend on maybe a camp. People go to do a camp. Sometimes when you go to do camps in places, you're shocked at the diseases you pick, and you're thinking, this is a young man that has been in school 7-8 years, and no one has known that the cause of their problem is not malaria or amoeba that they keep being treated for, but it's a heart problem. And so I think
what causes it?
It's an infection of the throat that then causes trouble with the heart, cross-reactivity with some of the tissues in the heart. And so it's a very easy thing to treat when it's handled early. But when it comes late, then we have to open the chest, we have to open the heart. It's a huge thing. And so there's still a lot of work. Our society, so I'm vice president of the Kenya Cardiac Society, and I'm the president of the Kenya Association of Thoracic Surgeons. So we are working together with government to really get this care down there, kwa mashinani. We still have a long way to go. Having worked in Australia and worked in Kenya, for sure, we have a long way to go. And for me, when I see the gaps, when I see someone who could have been helped 10 years ago is being seen now, it bothers me. It bothers me. In Kenya, we're even blessed. There are countries in Africa that do not have a single heart surgeon. Not one. If you have a problem that needs surgical operation, it's too bad for you. Let me actually tell you one quick story, I promise.
Please,
to be very quick.
please.
So 2 years ago, I was going to do a speaking engagement. So as I told you, I work with leaders a lot. So we're going to do a speaking engagement in Malawi. And so in Lilongwe, we went, and during one of the sessions, we were blessed to have 2 government ministers. And so we had conversations with them, fantastic meeting. But at the end, I went to have conversation with them, and I asked now about heart surgery. And I asked them, is there any heart center in the country? And they said none. And I said, if somebody needs a heart operation, what happens? And they're very open with me. They said, someone dies unless they can afford to go out of country. And so I said to them, is it possible for me to meet the Minister of Health? Just trying. And this is the power of intentionality. And they said, actually, you can make that happen. Long story short, the next day, I sat with the Minister of Health in Malawi. And I said the same thing. And she led me to the permanent secretary in the ministry. And we had a long chat. And so I asked him, what happens when somebody requires surgery? And he said, the government sponsors 4 people every year to go out of country to get the surgeries done. I said, how long is the waiting list? And they said, it's thousands of patients. So I asked this gentleman, how do you choose the 4 out of these thousands of patients? And he told me that's one of the most painful moments in his office. When you have to tell all this rest, we are sorry, we're only sending 4.
Like a lottery.
And it's life and death, literally. The next year when you come, people that didn't get an opportunity, most of them will have died. And so I asked him, would you guys, as government, send us one of your surgeons? We train this surgeon in Kenya. And then we build a nexus around this surgeon, support them so that we can start heart surgery in Malawi. And would you believe it? They said, we can do that. A few weeks later, they had sent us an individual. So they sent a surgeon, and the surgeon came and is in training. And so when the surgeon goes back, we can now build around him to be able to grow heart surgery in the country of Malawi. And it just tells you the situation in Africa. And so for me, when things like those happen, I feel this is why I came back. These are my people. In the hospital I was working in Melbourne, that one hospital, St. Vincent Hospital, Melbourne, had more heart surgeons than our whole country combined. One hospital. So I said, if I'm not here, life continues as usual. But when I'm here, back here in Kenya, I can make a difference. And I think that is what life should be about. Can you truly make a difference?
Now, in this, when you solid submission, but when you go back to upper history, a waiting list, I've been checking out this organ harvesting thing, and this this idea of a waiting list, kidneys, livers, I hear, has created a market for black market, and that's what creates organ harvesting. Could this qualify that the failure of the system has already actually created a business such that could this be a thing? Though
I don't think so, because most of these patients who are on that waiting, they're pretty sick. So their organs, the hearts are very sick. So they're not patients that would be able to donate something to someone. However, where we do have a gap, and I'm glad you bring this up, because in Kenya now, we do not have heart transplant. We don't. If you need heart transplant, you can't get heart transplant in Kenya. Doesn't exist.
But your training allows you to do that.
We know how to. I've done heart transplant in other countries.
You have done?
Yes.
Chukua roho wekea mtu
Yes.
mwingine. And in your line of work, kwanza hii kitu ya this guy has a big heart. It's not a compliment.
It's a bad thing.
But you've done it.
Yeah, we've done it. And also in my line of work, I usually open to see if someone has truly Christ in their hearts. Anyway. So our country has...
Why don't we have, and you're trained to do that?
Legislation is one thing, because we don't have legislation, and I can tell you we're really trying to push for that. But culture is another big thing. Very many Kenyans believe mtu wetu azikwe na kila, even when you sign something.
Rudi nyuma kidogo.
Yes.
I've remembered I've had a conversation with another cardiothoracic surgeon, Dr. Awori.
Yes.
And he explained to me that one of the gaps for legislation is it has not been defined when someone is clinically dead or the heart has stopped.
Yes.
Please, for purposes of anyone who missed that conversation, hebu tuanze hapa kwa legislation.
So legislation is so crucial, because without it, we do not have a legal basis to do what needs to get done. Because this is what happens in heart transplants. Somebody has died. For example, these guys that get border accidents. Okay? So someone has died. And by definition, death is brain death. Yeah? So you can have your heart still beating, but you have died. And we can actually keep your heart beating, but you're brain dead.
But brain dead is dead.
No. Yes. If you're brain dead, you're dead. But in many of our African understanding of life, when the heart is beating,
that person
someone is alive. And so, you see, it creates a dichotomy there. So if somebody is on life support, for example, we can keep their lungs going, we can keep the heart going, we can support the kidneys. So the organs can be...
And that's where some unscrupulous traders wanakulia kwa life support.
And that's where some challenges can occur. So we just need legislation. And this year, just a few weeks ago, we released a communique as Kenya Cardiac Society to the Ministry of Health. And one of the key aspects is that heart transplant, because we want to push legislation for it. But that legislation will not be even as important as culture. As culture, because donating a kidney, you're still alive, so you can give your kidney. But for heart transplant, where if somebody is giving their heart, they are dead, and so you're taking their organ. The challenge becomes, for a lot of our cultures, they believe if somebody is dead, they should be buried with everything they have. And there are even people who've signed and said, I would like to donate my body for whatever. And family comes back and says, no, mtu wetu lazima azikwe hapa na zikwe na kila kitu yake.
Yesu akirudi.
Yes.
So you see, so when someone gives their heart.
Yeah.
So tuanze na, there are people who need heart transplants.
Yes, in this country. Many.
So there are people who will die because legislation does not allow. This is two-pronged.
Yes.
Number one, it can be abused. All right? Your declaration or the passing.
Yeah.
Number two, how is it done in other countries? How the countries that have allowed legislation, how do they do it? to make sure it is not abused. Kutoa roho ya mtu wepee mtu mwingine.
Yeah, and you know, why it is so easy to develop maybe as some of the countries that came behind, because we can learn so many lessons from those who have gone ahead of us. And so for this particular aspect of heart transplant, there is so much we can borrow from elsewhere. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And there are very, very good systems. Like in Aussie, their heart transplant system is very robust. So there are two systems that must go hand in hand. There is the donor system and there's the recipient system. So the person who receives. So what would happen in Aussie, if somebody becomes brain dead, the system is activated because there are people who've already signed before that, I would love my organs donated. So if somebody is an organ donor, is brain dead, then the system is activated. So there is a waiting list that is handled centrally. So people know there's a waiting list, so-and-so is on top of this waiting list in such and such a place. And so the harvesting of the organ and the recipient, you coordinate those. Because when you harvest the organ, it needs to be implanted within a certain period of time. And so the seamlessness with which they do it, I found it to be very, very inspiring. We would do a corridor of honor. So in the hospital, if somebody is in the ICU and they're donating their heart, and literally what we would do, it's not just the heart. We guys would go to take the heart and the lungs. Other people would take the liver. Other people would take the kidneys. So literally this person would be able to save multiple lives, not just one life. Because their liver is going to benefit someone else. Their kidney is going to benefit someone else.
So you're alive in someone else.
Yes. Even intestines, by the way, we now do transplant of those as well. Yes. So what we will do a roll of honor. When you're willing this person who's brain dead to theater to now go and harvest their organs. So all the hospital workers would line the corridors in honor of somebody who's died but is literally giving their life to save others. And so we would wheel them in. And once we got on the table, there's a clock because you want to harvest them very quickly and put them in preserving solutions. We in heart surgery now, we are very happy because there's a way you can actually keep the heart beating through a circuit. So extends the life of that heart. But essentially, by the time you're harvesting, the recipient person is in hospital, in the OR, waiting. And so these organs would be flown over. It was a very well-oiled machine. So you need legislation that can knit these little pieces of the tapestry together so that you get the job done. But for us, the culture aspect is so strong. And I can say this because I've worked with many people in trying to push this legislation through. And that culture aspect, both from traditional African religious groups, Christian groups, Muslim groups, it's a bit of a challenge. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done there before people can say, no, it is okay. Even if you're not buried with your heart, when Christ comes, you'll be okay. It will be a new body because this one will have decomposed anyway. So there are aspects that need to be done from a cultural perspective. But on the legislative arm, because there are so many countries that are now doing it, it's very easy to borrow from their failures, from the dangers, like now issues of organ trafficking. So if someone stole your heart and it's not romance,
makosa.
Yes.
So now that is, it's interesting that I would love to know if organs can be taken from one person and transplanted into another person, and they would continue with their lives. Question number one, someone who lives on a borrowed heart, in the unfortunate event that something happens to them, can this heart be borrowed again by someone else?
No, it cannot be reborrowed. At least that has not been done, but maybe theoretically it can.
Okay.
It's just that now reharvesting the heart, because it's scarring tissue in the places where you suture the things and all, it's not as easy as a fresh chest that you're going into.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number two, if organs can be transplanted into another person, and at this rate kama mmefika kwa intestines it means everything. But they will be themselves.
Yes.
You will be yourself with someone's heart. So if I was living in your heart, my relationship with your son would be different.
Yes, because now, there's the physical heart, then there is the heart. So when you're talking,
who is a person then in your experience? Who is a person?
Yeah. So it's always interesting, especially when you read the romance novels and people say, "I give you my heart." My heart beats only for you, and the heart is beating just for blood.
Yes.
But anyway, when you look at our definition of a human being, the consciousness of a human being is crucial. So that is the mind, that consciousness, the ability to say, this is King Ori.
Consciousness.
That consciousness is crucial. But we say a human being is a spirit living in a body. Yeah. So that aspect of spirit is what makes all the difference, and people struggle to understand it. So in many of our cultures and even religious texts, it said heart. But when they're saying heart, what they're really meaning is spirit, not this pump. Because this heart is just a pump. That's all there is to it. So when people are saying heart, really, they mean that, the spirit.
Okay.
You know? And so because of language problems, now people think of heart this and
not this heart.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the real sense, like this heart, I mean, we stop it all the time. Like when we're going to do heart operation, we stop the heart for many, many hours. And we cut things, we saw things, whatnot.
You stop the heart. I saw you write about that.
Yeah.
You stop the heart.
Yeah. And somebody is still alive. Their spirit is still there. Because the spirit does not stay in the heart.
So there's something else you write about. I'm not sure kama ni story ya Mama Dennis is who you thought ni baby mama. That's funny, bana. So now there's a statement you write mahali. The patient does not have much time left. You have to act immediately. When I read that, and when I hear your explanation here, what it will take for a heart transplant, what is your view of the will of God? Because kama sahi there's a 9-year-old mwenye you are able to mleta na charge ya 30 on the defibrillator. I hope I pronounce that correctly.
Right? You've done very well, man. You are almost a doctor.
Okay. Mahita watateremka na hiyo. So now you manage to bring them back. And when someone reads through your book, you can see the matter of life and death decisions, split seconds decisions that mean that decide whether someone lives or dies. Where is the will of God up?
Yeah. So this is my view. Let me first start with a disclaimer, because I'm a man of faith.
Yes.
I'm a Christian man. I pray a lot. I pray before every operation I do because I believe in divine guidance, and I believe God put me on earth for a reason. So that is my best. However, the way the world works, God has given the earth to us as human beings, and He asks us to take dominion. And so the decisions that we do here on the earth, it's really up to us. That's why you can decide today to take your life. You'll not say it was the will of God you died. In fact, in a number of funerals, I've questioned people. For example, somebody is very reckless in their driving. They get an accident and die. And then people say, Mungu ameamua mchukue. Like, really? God did not choose to do that. So we have choice. Basically, we have choice.
Up to a certain level.
Yes, up to a certain level. So God is still sovereign. So for His greater purposes, He can interfere with humanity in very many ways. And I have seen miracles happening. So for sure, there are things scientifically I can't explain, but somebody lived. There are things I've seen prayer and things turn around. So I know God can interfere with our affairs, but that is exception rather than the rule. For a lot of things, He just set principles. He said, if you do this, this will happen. He put gravity. If you go jump over that cliff, you will not say will of God. it's principles he set in place. If you work hard, there's something that will happen. So there are principles of doing life. And so I believe we are governed by those principles that God put in place. But there are times when he interferes with the matters of humanity for his greater purposes. And I've seen that as well. But I think by and large, a lot of what happens in the world boils down to the decisions that we make as human beings every day.
Okay. Yani, for a conversation like yours, I always have a feeling that this is a first of many. So 2 or 3 things before tufunge. You mentioned miracles. Naeza penda kuuliza something on miracles. And then, and we've not even scratched the surface. Kwa vitu nilikuwa nafikiria would like to discuss for this conversation. Okay. So now, miracles. You have a health scare in 2019. Hii kona different angles, but wacha niteremke chini kidogo. You have a health scare of a type of cancer ya mguu. And one thing that grabs my attention is, you say without your leg, if it were to be amputated, you would lose your livelihood.
Yes.
I was like, a surgeon na mguu. My closest friend, one of my closest friends, is a plastic surgeon. Anaitwa Dr. Ken Alora. And for him now, you would say, of course, he has gone through hiyo kusoma yote, but his line of work ni cosmetic surgery, hiyo mambo ingine, which is different na hii. But yeye aliniambia something like, for a surgeon, kidole is very important, the finger.
Yes.
Okay?
Indeed.
But in your concerns, you sat with your wife, ukamwambia, you would not have a problem if she remarried. Like,
yes. Yes. It was a way of trying to break the ice. Yeah? You can imagine when I got this diagnosis, it was very difficult to tell my wife. And because she's a medic, so she knows. So just reading the report from the lab, that is my name, those are my tissues, and this is a type of cancer that is so nasty. It's so nasty. So I knew. So when I told her I have the cancer and she was crying, deep in the night, I was crying, and we were like, because I knew this was it. I had zero hope for living. I knew this was it. And so as I'm talking with her, just because in our line of work, especially as heart surgeons, you need to have a morbid sense of humor. You just need to survive, because the things we go through are crazy. So in the midst of that, we are all crying, and I tell her, now when I have died, if you remarry, I'm okay. I will not be turning in the grave annoyed and whatever. Yeah. So but it was a tough season. It was a tough season for us.
But you're making jokes in tough season.
Yes. You need morbid humor to survive in the line of work that we do.
So you get through this, you actually, this is a miracle.
Yes.
Because you didn't have any surgery.
Yeah. There's something that had been planned. And then I got home, and very good friends had come to see me as the surgery had been planned, and people were praying. People were praying for me. I didn't know. We've got friends all over the world because of the work that we do, but people all across the world were praying. And so the day I was scheduled to go for the operation, that morning the pathologist calls me and he says, I hope you've not had the surgery yet. And I say, no, we are just about to go in. And he says, wait, we are looking at your slides again. Give us some time to go through it again. There's just something that is not making sense. And by that evening, he calls back and he says, we don't think this is cancer. We think this is something that is mimicking cancer. And the wound that, because they'd taken some tissue to take it to the lab, and the wound had become a nasty wound. We call them fungating wounds. So it was becoming a nasty wound. It was not healing. The day after that event, when people left my home, they'd been praying, and we've gotten the good news, this is not cancer. That wound just started to heal. Literally, the wound just started to come together. And my wife and I are thinking and looking and saying, this leg has been disturbing us for weeks, and it just come together. In a few days, it was completely healed. And that was 2019. It's now about 7 years down the line. The move is perfect.
Thank God. Hey. That changes your life, kabisa.
Absolutely, it does.
So now, I'd like us to close with a very funny story I've read from your Facebook page.
Yeah.
But before that, now the health situation in Kenya has seen people seek medication out of the country.
Yes.
Kama uko na capacity of doing a heart transplant, how much health services are people seeking out of the country that can actually be done locally?
Yeah, I think because of just awareness, there are very many people that do not know the capacity that we have in this country now.
Yes.
We have fantastic cardiologists, and I've worked with cardiologists across the globe, and I can say it. We've got very, very good cardiologists in this country. So there are things that can be done minimal invasive, meaning without really us having to open the chest. There are pediatric cardiologists that can close holes in the heart without us having to open. They just put something through the vessels. So all this is happening. We now who do open heart surgeries, there's a lot we're able to do. We do minimal invasive heart surgery. Instead of opening the chest here, we can just go through a hole on the side and operate on the heart, stop the heart, do everything. We are now able to do what we call coronary artery disease. Those are blockages in the heart vessel. So we do bypass. And it's not just in one place. Now I'm really happy because this is being done in Tenwek. It's being done here in Nairobi. It's being done in Eldoret. It's being done in Mombasa. And so I'm hoping over time we can improve to Kisumu. My good friends in Kisumu, Dr. Juma and Dr. Sadia, they're going to start the program there. And we are hoping next year we'll actually be doing open hearts in Kisumu. Then Nakuru, we hope at least in the next 2-3 years to also have a center there. So it's not just adults, children, adults, a lot of these procedures can be done in this nation. Every year we are putting out to Kenya about 8 to 9 surgeons, heart surgeons.
8 to 9?
Yes. And that is huge because for very many years, we used to put out exactly 0. At least now the University of Nairobi and Tenwek have training programs that surgeons are coming out every year. And so a lot of these things can be done here. If you look at the complexity of the procedures that can be done locally, that complexity has stretched over time. Yes, there are a few things that might need to be done outside, but I would say more than 98% of the procedures that need to be done can be done in this country. Less than 2% are the ones that need to be done outside. Let me give you a bit of perspective with numbers. I don't know if you're a numbers guy. So we need in Kenya about 15,000 open heart operations need to be done every year in terms of the need. The patients that need open heart procedures done yearly, it's about 15,000. 7.5 adults, children. It's an even divide. But out of those, currently, as we speak, as I'm talking to you, we are doing just about 2,000 open heart procedures in the country every year. So the need is 15,000. We're operating just 2,000. Now, the rest of the people here, a third of them will die every year waiting. I have an Excel sheet in my computer of people who are on a waiting list. Every time somebody dies, it's coded red. And when I run through that list, my brother, every time I see red, 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 these guys died waiting for an opportunity to be sorted. It crushes my heart. Many of these can definitely not afford to go out. And so the only way to sort this is to increase local capacity, the boots on ground, but also facilities that can do that and support from government, things like SHA and other well-wishers. I love the Matter Heart Run. I love what Karen are doing. All these are ways in which you can help people who would otherwise not afford. But the message is, for very many of these cases, the expertise to deal with these problems exists locally.
Okay. One way to reduce these cases in the years to come is also preventative heart health, right? So, is that correct terminology?
Yes. Unajaribu. Yes. Daktari umeanza Daktari Kingori.
Niko karibu kukuwa certified.
KMPDC.
Wanaona. So now, what are some of the things people what are some of the things people can do to make sure to reduce their chances of ending up in the list of the 15,000 annual?
Okay.
15,000 people annually who need these open heart surgeries?
So let me divide it into three.
Yes,
the
please.
first category is what we call congenital heart disease. These are things you're born with. Okay, so once you have them, there's nothing you can do. You are born with it. You're born with a hole in your heart. So the only way to handle that, there are a few things that we know can cause that. There's some nutritional deficiencies, for example, that can cause that trouble. So we say it's important for mothers to go for the ANC care. It's important for the mothers to get proper nutrition, advice around proper nutrition, because there are some mothers, the way they eat during pregnancy, wanafanya ile inaitwa eating for two. So you find a fetus that is still very small, but mama anasema I'm eating for two. But the stuff that she's eating, the craving of her heart, the people are craving chocolate, they are craving. So there are people who get malnourished in pregnancy.
Oh Lord.
Yes. So that is a problem. Just to say, it's important for mothers to be advised on proper nutrition during pregnancy. It's important for them for going for ANC care. Okay. The second big category is rheumatic heart disease. So rheumatic heart disease has been eradicated in the West. It no longer exists. So if you go to the US, you'll not find a single American with rheumatic heart disease because it's a disease of the poor socioeconomic status. Ile congestion, watu wanaishi wengi kwa manyumba, and then simple antibiotics, because I told you it starts as a throat infection. So if you get just simple antibiotics, you can actually eradicate rheumatic heart disease. And
simple antibiotics causes or reduces?
Reduces.
Okay.
It can sort it out.
Okay.
If we had very good antibiotic cover, people, when they get those problems, they are treated properly, there's no overcrowding and all that, you can actually eradicate rheumatic heart disease. But we're very far from that because we've got hundreds of thousands of patients in our country with this problem. Then lastly, and this is really where you can do a lot of work in prevention, is acquired coronary heart disease, diseases of the vessels of the heart. People are not moving as much and people are eating terribly. So the typical Nairobian gets from home in the morning and anaingia gari yake. Let's call it a Suzuki Alto, because my children hate that car.
Even Al Karanja hates that car.
Yeah. So they get into their Suzuki Alto and get to work. Park kwa basement, kuingia lift, and they come up to the office. And they'll be seated in the office, basically the whole day. They will order lunch. Very few people actually come to work with a healthy meal. Then in the evening, they'll go maybe take a few with friends, again, back to the house. And that happens repeatedly. So physical activity, iko down sana. And most people, when they think of fitness, they think of going to the gym. Yet the fittest people don't actually go to the gym. There's a lot you can do at home. So my wife for a long time ran a TV show on physical fitness. And she used to show people how you can work out nyumbani. Even when you're seated in the office, what is a squat? If you sit and stand, you've done a squat. And so it's just the awareness and the intentionality around it. So physical activity is terrible. But I think the thing really driving this is our culture around nutrition. Yes, nutrition, the sugars we are consuming in the various forms in now Africa is terrible. So coronary heart disease used to be a disease of the West, but now it's here with us. I remember when I was training, we would go a whole year, maybe we've done just 3 or 4 patients with coronary artery disease. Right now, you do that in a week because people are getting these problems. We're getting bigger, and that's the truth. I can say it because I see you're quite fit. You are 1 GB, but very many people, ukijipima hiyo waist, you know. People will say, na hata mimi sikulangi. That's not true. The body never lies. If your abdomen, that kitambi inachomoka, it tells you there is some excess that is going on. It tells you maybe there is something that you need to work on kidogo.
Your body is giving you feedback.
And your body will never lie to you. And so to me, nutritional aspects and there are practical things. One day we'll talk about them. There are simple things you can do. It doesn't mean going on a diet, doesn't mean all these crazy things.
Give a highlight.
Yeah. Like I've seen people saying on wanakula mpaka guava leaves to try and reduce body weight. So when it comes to nutrition, there are three important things. Number one is the frequency of meals. Recently, I was in a conference, so you take breakfast, kuna chai ya saa 4. Like, literally, you've just, at 8, you've done your breakfast. Kuna chai ya saa 4 with some tumandazis and things. People eat that. Then they come back to the hall, there are sweets on the table. Unamumunya hiyo. Then lunchtime, there's a serious meal. Then sweets. Then chai ya saa 10. Then, like, we are behaving worse than the herbivores, yeah? So we're just always eating. Because every time you eat, insulin in your body goes up. Because it's the one that brings your sugars down. And so every time your insulin spikes, it's the one that causes storage of fat. And so you can never lose weight when your insulin is up. It can never happen. Story for another. So that's one, frequency. And then number 2 is the content of our meals. So our meals are still heavily carbohydrate. So when I take my children out, for example, in the evening, and I ask them to order, what do you think they order? Cheapo. Like, and I noticed the other day, there are even adults who do not understand that beans has more carbohydrates than protein. Ukiambia protein meals, they say beans. But beans is really a carbohydrate. So a lot of our nutrition is heavily carbohydrate. Beans, yes, it has some protein, but a lot of carbohydrate as well. So that if you're having it, you can just have it with mboga without really having to now again add another carbohydrate. So the content of the meals is a problem. But lastly, what I like to call the fractionating of the plate. So if you're to look at your plate and have it like a circle, if you draw a straight line down the middle, that is half the plate. Half the plate should be vegetables. The other quarter should be healthy carbs. And by healthy carbs, we mean complex carbohydrates. So those things that take time to be absorbed. And then the other half should be healthy proteins. So if you do that, and of course not have a plate the size of a senior, has to be reasonable. You know, like yes. My guys, when they're working in the farm at home, the ugali you cook for them, it must come in a karai. Like it can't be.
Yes. Yeah. So you must not see the other person on the other side.
Yeah. So the diameter matters. So we call it mindful eating. Yes. Mindful eating. And then if you're able to discipline yourself to stay without food once in a while. So my family, for example, every Thursday we fast. We don't consume a meal. Everyone in the family. Yes, even the children. And the idea is you need to look at food as just something that is serving you. You're not living to eat. You eat so that you may live. And so that perspective is important. And for very many people, I've seen even adults, kukaa tu hata one meal without food so there's food addiction. And if you can work on yourself, and these are pole too, you can start to reduce, you fast some kade, you're training yourself to be a master of your body so that you're not mastered by things. You're the one who's in charge.
Okay. Wadau, please follow Dr. Keith Dindi on social media. He has very, very interesting articles. And najua you agree with me that this is a first of many. Na nitawasomea kitu moja, and sometimes ulikuwa unasema kitu naanza kucheka because kuna kitu nilisoma and I don't like that I read it jioni sahi. So and it comes with a promise yenye umesema you will block everyone
oh no.
You said you will block everyone after reading it. So akia nani now one of the best things about growing up in the village were pit latrines. Like, what the hell? Why would you open a story in Now, they were far away from the main house. And after patching yourself, the choice of language, after patching yourself, you just allowed your bottoms to swing a few centimeters off the ground. You're a storyteller. And you know how hard it is to be funny in writing. Nataka kuna mahali linikuta vibaya sana. So a few centimeters off the ground and you let it rip. You assumed position. My phone is misbehaving. you assumed position, your feet barely touched the ground, gravity did the rest, and life moved on. No sound effects, echoing doors, no worries about flashing stuff and all. Then Form 1 happened. Alliance, manzi. I went to visit a family in Nairobi during half term. Lovely people, clean house, cushions everywhere. The toilet, however, was positioned right next to the living room, sharing a wall with human conversation. This is a problem very many people have faced. Now, for several days, my body sent polite notices. I ignored them. I smiled. I clenched. I walked carefully. Eventually, the notices came with eviction orders. Now, for several days, one afternoon I accepted defeat. Yani, vile hiyo story imeandikwa. I entered the toilet like a thief. I sat down very gently. I attempted controlled effort, small effort, measured effort, serious concentration. Hiyo story ni funny sana. Go read the rest of it on Dr. Keith Dindi's Facebook page. Very, very interesting writing, very prolific. And you come here with your second book, inaitwa Anchor. With my experience reading the book, and I don't know, iko kwa Nuria kweli? Unajua Nuria ndio msee wetu wa nini?
Yeah, nitatafuta wase tuweke hapo.
Tafuta Nuria.
Yako, so I should
thank
go
you.
to...
Asante sana. Nuria has a delivery network ya countrywide. So tukirecommend kitabu, tunaekeanga watu link hapa so that wanafinya tu, wanapelekewa kwa mlango in whichever part of the country wako. So ikiweza wekwa kwa Nuria, na I'll read that and give a review pia of the same. But that's a funny story. Na it's one of the many stories ziko kwa hiyo page. So na hope watu watapata nafasi waende wajisomee hiyo story wamalize. But vile nimesema, I believe this is a first of many. Asante sana for making time for us.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed this conversation.
I've enjoyed myself as well. And I look forward to Conversations Mob.
Asante.
Yeah, and more opportunities. I think we should do some storytelling on stage with you. That would be a lot of fun.
Looking forward. Mwenjekesha in writing.
Asante.
So grab Dr. Keith Dindi's book. Kuna Anchor, kuna Bullets, the bullet, the knife and the keys. Nashindwa kuzimix in order. But it's an interesting read. Hiyo ni entertainment. Ukitaka ku have fun, kusoma stories that will impact your life in a special way, check them out. Hii Anchor pia nitasoma. Tunaweza soma pamoja. Grab a copy, alafu you will rate my review of the book tuone kama tumepick the same lessons. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much.
Asante.
It's been fun.
Aye.
Asante.